on January 6th. How is that anything but, like, that's not like a good faith legal challenge. That's not like he just had a disagreement. That's like trying to steal an election, right?
Look at him. He's saying, right? Like, isn't that like stealing the election? Yeah, right? Right, guys? Right? Like, he doesn't even know. It has to be bad faith, right? You're in my worldview, right? You believe what I believe, right? You believe my opinions, right? My interpretation of the whole situation. Yeah, right? Come on now. You don't? Oh, what? That you're delusional. You don't? You're delusional.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of this hangs on what Donald Trump knew and what he didn't know, at what level he was involved, or what level he wasn't involved. I think a lot of this is being litigated through the courts, right? So some of these things were legal, some of these things were not. And
wait. Oh, sorry, I want to be in a really specific thing. So first of all, none of it is being like litigated yet. Donald Trump has said that he needs criminal immunity for all of it. That's his defense. He's saying, I can't possibly commit crimes as president. That's it.
It is literally being litigated through the courts. You just don't like the way that it's being litigated. So you're like, oh no, it's not actually being litigated through the courts. That makes no sense. He literally contradicted himself like the next sentence. He's like, no, it's not happening. But Trump is actually doing something through the courts with his defense. And I'm like, wait.
But the people whose labor we rely on to survive were really struggling. And, you know, it was, when I first realized this, it was not comfortable for me to admit this. You know, I knew I was going to lose all my friends, but I just feel that the data is very clear about that. And I'm not one to say to a person who has much less than you, struggling much more than you, have to put my emotional response to this person ahead of being able to feed your family.
Okay. I'm going to put a pin on the economic stuff because I disagree with you on every single economic claim you just made. But we can...
Actually, I agree with every single economic thing that you just made, but I digress. So we're just going to just say that.
Come back and we can talk through all of these if you like.
As if he's like credible on that piece of information.
So I need a sanity test. Okay, this conversation real quick. Okay. Do we believe, I'm just checking, do we believe that we can know things that we don't directly observe?
True.
So for instance, if I read a news report and it says, yesterday a building exploded in New York, can I believe that that probably happened with a high degree of certainty, even if I haven't myself seen it?
Yes.
Depends which newspaper.
Mainstream newspaper with millions of readers, if multiple papers are reporting it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, and I can like broadly trust like government figures. If the BLS releases a report, sometimes they've got to do revisions, but like broadly speaking, I can trust like kind of figures that come out, right?
I mean, it depends which ones. Again, like there's, you know, a lot of people now at this point in our country who, and I guess this would be my overarching claim, is like, I feel responsible to you as a person that I admire. Like everything we disagree on, I consider that it's like the burden is on me to convince you. It's not on you to have. And I feel that way doubly so for when it comes to half the country. So if half the country now feels that the Department of Justice has been weaponized against their political choice, right? The sovereign at one time, who's now, of course, you know, an ex-president. But if they feel that way, that is something you and I are responsible to address.
But this is the central thing I'm making. This is the issue that I'm having is conservatives can cause this feeling to occur in people and then point to liberals, and then people in the center will point to liberals and go, well, look, the people have these feelings, you have to do something about it, right? So when you talk about, for instance, the weaponization of the DOJ, that's something that Donald Trump has done. It's inarguable. There is no evidence that it's happened under Biden. But because Donald Trump and the conservatives and all of the...
Wait, I'm sure he's probably going to bring up like some sort of like fact, right? He's not going to just say it and then just move on, right? True? Not true? Let's see.
The people lying in media on his behalf have said that it's happening under Biden. People have that feeling. And then they come back to the liberals and they go, hey, liberal, you need to address the fact that people feel this way. Well, of course they feel that way. Conservatives have been lying to them about it for years.
Okay, so I'm curious what you make of this counter argument. I do think there's a lot of evidence that it's been weaponized, but... The right does try to make this happen more frequently than it succeeds at making this happen. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff you see on Twitter like that they really start to push, you know, and you're like, oh god, this is going to be the latest conspiracy theory. We're going to hear about this forever.
Okay, yes, Trump did weaponize it. I guess in the technical sense of the word, yes. I think it was I think California, like I forget which year. In California, he basically took away federal funding for like natural disasters and stuff like that for California, because there was something that the governor was supposed to sign, and I guess he didn't want to sign it. So Trump was like, well, I guess you're not going to get federal government like funding if you don't want to sign these papers. Like, and there's definitely like a reason behind it, and I didn't really look into it to see what the reason was. And obviously it probably was a legitimate reason, because like if that was such a terrible thing, why aren't they like prosecuting Trump for that specific thing that he did? Because like it's on video. Like where's that prosecution? Because like they're prosecuting Trump on every other thing but like that. So like Destiny would bring that up as like a counter, not in this video, but he said that in another video, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's true, he did weaponize it. So Well, one for you, Destiny, I guess.
Never. And it just doesn't take off. Like, you can see, you talk to people, you go to the local bar, you see it is not taking off. Like, people are just not buying it.
Wait, but people have bought it. All of these.
People bought that one. But I'm telling you, like, there's a lot of ones that the right tries to push that people don't buy and people don't talk about and don't want to hear about.
Sure, but I mean, when you're pushing 100 conspiracies and people believe 40 of them, that's a massive success.
Well, or you could say that, some of these, like, turned out to be true, right? Like,
no, not really. Like, the left has a bunch of conspiracy theories that a lot of people end up, like, I guess 40% of people end up, like, believing too. So actually, I would argue that there's even more. Like, the whole I guess I would consider this a conspiracy theory from the left. Like, police officers are, like, annihilating and eradicating people of color all around the U.S. I know a lot of people that actually believe that that's kind of, like, I would say that's a conspiracy theory, or maybe that's just, like, false. But then Destiny would be like, oh, is that comparable to what we just talked about? And I'm like, to me it is. Like, why are you going to ask me a subjective question like that? Like, obviously to me it is. That's why I brought it up.
Joe Biden laptop story, right? Where you had, like, literally people from, CIA saying, like, this is Russian misinformation, turned out to be real, right? Like, that's legit misinformation coming out of the deep state. So
okay,
for
wait,
2
hold
years.
on. Okay, I understand what you're saying. Okay, hold on. Let's back up a second. Okay. It's okay. I'm just curious what we can do. Okay, just one simple thing at a time. Okay, one very, very small thing at a time.
Yes,
okay.
you can know things that you don't observe.
Yeah. Okay. In the United States of America, individual citizens don't.
Remember this. Destiny says one thing at a time. Now he's going to try and stay on one thing, but then he's going to keep going to different things and moving the goalpost more and more and more based on what she's saying. And then he's going to be like, well, we need to stay on one thing. Like, we can't just keep moving, but Destiny's the one that's doing the whole moving.
Actually have a right to vote for the president. The states have rights to vote, right? So when you go and you cast your ballot at a state, in a state federal election, the state decides how to run those elections. Most states right now, or every state has said that, okay, well, whoever wins the majority of the votes in our state, we're going to tell our electors to cast that vote for president, with the exception of Maine and Nebraska that kind of divvy it up based on percentages, right? So I vote in a state, I'm in Michigan, 52% of us vote for a candidate. We're actually voting for their electors. Those electors will fill out their ballots, and then, on 2020, which is December 14th, they fill them out, the governor signs it, and they say, okay, we're going to send these to Congress to be counted on January 6th, right? We agree this is the process?
Yep.
Okay. So when Donald Trump, has his campaign, not his campaign actually, because most of them wouldn't even go along with it,
All right,
and he has his personal friends.
Let me just test this auto thing. Is it working? Yes. Yes, it is. Perfect. It is working. Nice. I don't have to do anything now.
People like Giuliani or Powell go out, or Mark Meadows, go out and solicit 79 other people to write down that they are the electors and that they were actually chosen by the state, and then to send in 7 different slates from all of the
Destiny's talking about the elector, the legal theory that they were trying to do for the election in 2020 for on Trump's side. Like, that was the legal theory that they were going off of. That's what he's explaining. But he's going to make it seem like this is some nefarious thing that that it was bad faith 100%. And if anyone else who doubts that is probably just a Trumple or whatever.
Democrat won states to send in 7 Republican ones to the Capitol and say, you should count us instead on January 6th. How is that anything but, like, that's not like a good faith legal challenge. That's not like he just had a that's like a trying to steal an election, right?
Look at him. He's saying, right? Like, isn't that like stealing the election? Yeah, right? Right, guys? Right? Like, he doesn't even know. It has to be bad faith, right? Like, you're in my worldview, right? You believe what I believe, right? You believe my opinions, right? My interpretation of the whole situation. Yeah, right? Come on now. We believe it, right? You guys believe it? You don't? Oh, what? That you're delusional. You don't? You're delusional. You don't know the facts. My interpretation of the facts is true, but yours is not. This is important. Like, this is everything, right? Oh, man. Just making fun of it at this point.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of this hangs on what Donald Trump knew and what he didn't know, at what level he was involved, at what level he wasn't involved. I think a lot of this is being litigated through the courts, right? So some of these things were legal, some of these things were not.
Wait. Sorry, I want to be in a really specific thing. So first of all, none of it is being, like, litigated yet. Donald Trump has said that he needs criminal immunity for all of it. That's his defense. He's saying, I can't possibly commit crimes as president. That's it.
Well, that is technically being litigated, but through the courts. And if the courts think that this is something we shouldn't even, like, if this is something that was in his official power, then yes, then true. If it's within his official power, then yes, it was, like, this absolves him. I don't see how it's not being litigated. It is literally being litigated through the courts. You just don't like the way that it's being litigated. So you're like, oh no, it's not actually being litigated through the courts. Like, it is. Like, you literally just said that he has first he says no, that didn't happen. And then he goes on explaining why that thing is actually happening, but, like, it's not actually happening. Like, what? Why would you say that he has a defense if he's not in the courts, but if it's not being litigated through the courts? Like, That makes no sense. He literally contradicted himself like the next sentence. He's like, no, it's not happening, but Trump is actually doing something through the courts that's with his defense. And I'm like, wait, come on now. Come on now. Like, that was just a dumb moment on his
criminal
part.
immunity for things he did as an officer of the, or what's the exact language?
He's seeking criminal immunity for the 4 years that he was president. He might say that it was
for official acts.
President has nothing to do with sending false slates of electors to people. It has absolutely nothing to do with being the president.
Wait, how do you know that it's not like? How do you know that it's not an official act? Like, didn't the courts rule that it was? Why are you going to say that it's not? Come on now, Destiny.
He sent them. That was his. That was Giuliani.
That worked under his direction, and Giuliani is his personal lawyer. Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of under dispute?